basically anything that can run Java, serverless portals, most clouds like Google App Engine. I don't go into lists, but basically all Java-related servers released in the past 5 years or so should be running Vaadin just quite well. There is plugins for many development tools. Vaadin 7 still being in beta, don't have visual editor yet spoiled for it. So if you want to use visual editing for your layouts, use Vaadin 6. We'll be fixing that in upcoming weeks for Vaadin 7 as well. There's plugins for IDEA, NetBeans, Maven support is quite good. You could just use AMP for your builds and so forth. This is actually a screenshot from IDEA. So how to get started? Go to vaadin.com, download it from there, or if you don't want to download it, you can just create a Maven project from an archetype. Or if you prefer to use Eclipse, you could go to Eclipse Marketplace, choose Vaadin from there, and it basically downloads the stable plugin version. If you want to be at the bleeding edge, there is vaadin.com/eclipse/experimental. So that's experimental for using Vaadin 7. There is also a free book about it. You can go to vaadin.com/book to download it for free. Decent rep card is a really nice way of getting started with this basically Vaadin 6. And if you want to hear more about the relationship between Google Web Tools and Vaadin, there is a nice page about it. Unfortunately, no. We had this in the roadmap for Vaadin 7, but unfortunately it's not there yet. So the client-side parts, basically the Google Web Tool with 2.5 that is included in Vaadin 7. There is ARIA support, but for the Vaadin in general, the ARIA support is not there yet. We try to do that with Vaadin 7.1, but unfortunately it is not there. There is no roadmap yet. So Google guys have been busy working with release of 2.5, and it seems that it's done, almost done. So now people in the steering committee just start to think what we are doing next. We are actually running at the moment a questionnaire about it from Outlook, future TWT survey. So if you are interested about affecting what is done next with TWT, you could answer these questions. That's a really good question, and this is something that we try to get answered here. So from looking from the Vaadin's point of view, what we are doing is fixing bugs in TWT directly, but the new UI components that we are at the same time doing, we are committing those into Vaadin projects. So my guess is that the core of the TWT will be more and more like core, and then there are other frameworks that are building on top of that, like TXT and Vaadin. But we don't know yet. It might be that things like this SAS compiler that we just created could be committed back to the TWT directly. Sorry? Yes. So there is a add-on product called Vaadin TouchKit that basically implements iOS type of components on top of Vaadin. So you could have like native looking application for iPhone and iPads with Vaadin. This is running on the server side, built fully in Java. In the next release after that, we also add client-side APIs for it, so you can build it both on the client as well as on the server side. There are swipe gestures, everything is hardware accelerated, so it's quite simple to use. While Vaadin is Apache license, this particular component is not, so it's ATPL license and commercial, but quite cheap.
So does Vaadin use gateway?
No. Yes.
We are using Vaadin right now for EPA and love it so far. We've had a little bit of battle royale with the UI engineers involving Sam, but now we started with Camille and reindeer themes, and so the UI team is wondering if there's going to be more flexibility for the CSS HTML side for custom development. Right now we just use a Python HTML file
a lot. So basically, in Vaadin 6, we had this limitation that we were supporting really old, broken IE versions. And because of that, we had to do all the layouting by ourselves. And this means that you cannot change everything in CSS as you would just like to do. In Vaadin 7, by dropping support for IE6 and IE7, this has changed completely. So instead of we doing the layouting calculations, we let the browser do all the layouting calculations. And this basically means that all the CSS would be behaving as you would expect. So this is one layer. Another layer is this inclusion of SAS, so basically abstraction on top of CSS, so that instead of writing like really long theme by yourself, you could actually use theme components from Vaadin and reduce parts of reindeer and so forth in Vaadin 7. So I hope that this will take a lot of pain away from your UI.
For testing web applications that are built in Vaadin, do you typically test from the browser UI layer, or do you test one layer down at object model?
Both. So, because this is just Java on the server side, everything is runnable as Java on the server side. My recommendation is that you build the tests for the backend layer and for the UI layer, instead of kind of writing Java-based tests yourself, there is a product called Vaadin test beds, basically fork of Selenium, where you can record the UI tests yourself and package those as JUnit tests. So basically you can have like pixel by pixel tests for the UI layer, but this is something that you should be doing only when your application is already kind of done. So it's only for the regression testing. You could do like test-driven development as well by writing those tests by yourself with test beds, but this is something that I wouldn't recommend to do it. But that's the way of doing UI testing. Actually, when we are testing Vaadin framework, we are running the same product and basically running, I think, around 10,000 different screenshot tests for different browsers for its build. So we detect all the, let's say, some CSS causes regression in some part of a browser, in some part of a component, by kind of just shifting some pixel, 1 pixel away, we can detect that regression. So that's really powerful for catching those regressions. Yes. So both Vaadin mode and dev mode are included. So if I take the architecture picture here, when you're coding this, all the changes are made here. And this means that basically when I'm changing something on the server side, you don't have to run Google Web compiler anymore. So then the changes are really fast. But if you are doing changes on this layer, you have to do recompilation. Either doing the full recompilation, that will take like minutes or so, too slow, or with the Google Dev mode, that basically is a plugin for web browser, or with Super Dev mode, that kind of does the compilation really fast on the fly. And my guess is that everything will go Super Dev mode way as soon as it's stable and easy. It's quite good already, and I guess that there is no need to support dev mode anymore in the future. Also, it's really nice that, because in Super Dev mode it basically compiles to JavaScript instead of kind of routing those calls to backend to your real JVM. It's much faster with Super Dev mode, so you can actually see how the layouts behave and animations behave, like really in your browser. Yes?
Since you incorporated like DWT in Vaadin 7, right, and do you have a common set of APIs for UI components that works with both DWT core and?
Yeah, so basically all the APIs that start with com Google within Vaadin are originate from DWT, and these we are keeping in sync with the main DWT. If some API starts with com Vaadin, it's not committed back to the DWT. So there are components and client-side things that are both starting with com Vaadin as well as com Google in Vaadin.
So do you have any plans of making one set of API for?
Actually, we cannot do that. We don't want to kind of break down backwards compatibility with TWT. We want that it's really easy to go from TWT to Vaadin and leverage those extra things in Vaadin. So it's not feasible to kind of refactor all the APIs in Google Web Tools. For that, there are basically two rules. So let's say you have a huge Google Web Tools application today, and you would like to try out some things from Vaadin. So my recommendation is that you package your main views as Vaadin add-on widgets here, so you can use the navigation from Vaadin on the server side. That's really straightforward process. You don't do much of changes yet. So for the next thing that where you want to try out Vaadin, you could do that completely on the server side and see how fast you can do that on the server side. So basic benefit should be something like 50% code reduction for doing on the server side instead of coding on the client side. Okay, I think we are pretty much up with the time. There is this office hour thing. I'll be around in the conference till 3 o'clock or so. And if I recall correctly, the office hour was from 1 to 3. So if you want to chat more about Vaadin,